What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another Tottenham update with, not long left to go of the transfer window. 2 weeks or just under 2 weeks to go. Spurs are still rocking and rolling within this transfer window, and we did sign Wilson Odobert just before the weekend, Friday it was. And as we left the studio, Spurs started. We did announce it that morning, but then they did the proper announcement with him holding up the shirt. And I thought there was a really inventive way how to announce them as well. So let's go through them without further ado, and then we'll get into the big stories of the day. But how rude of me. How are you doing today, Sim?
I'm doing all right, thank you. Looking forward to the end of the window. Looking forward to the Premier League starting tomorrow for us. Very excited. Obviously, we've been kicking back this weekend, watching all the action unfold. Some teams have been impressing, but hopefully we can lay down the gauntlet tomorrow.
Yeah, let's hope so. Spurs go top of the league tomorrow night. That's what I'm
Exactly.
hearing. But yeah, let's get into this Wilson Odobert. This is how Spurs did announce it.
Him? Yes, it's no good. I've been shouting his name for hours. Wilson. Wilson. You see?
Well, maybe I could try.
You can have a go, Jackie, but I promise you...
Wilson!
Wilson!
I'm here.
You try calling
It
him?
was very awkward, but that is the way it happened. And then Tottenham
And
say,
obviously,
"Welcome."
that's for a show Friday night dinner, and it was announced on a Friday night as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of context there.
Tottenham Hotspur say, "Welcome to Tottenham, Wilson. This is magnifique." And this one was them in the old hotel room, as they like to do it now.
Odobert. Lovely. Suits the white shirt.
100%.
They're making a lot of use out of that big green room, aren't they?
They really are. There's another one there. And then There We Land. I've seen a few clubs getting on the back of this There We Land now.
The There We Land kid is really going viral at the moment. That's a nice
madness.
Shot. Well, he's paying off. His new catchphrase. It's quite funny. But there you go. You know, you never know what's gonna hit the zeitgeist. But look, that's him on the private jet. Doesn't look too happy. Come on, smile a bit.
He'll be smiling when he's banging the goals. Don't you worry about that.
Hope so. This is how they kept it all under wraps. I'm surprised those curtains weren't drawn. How do they keep this a secret? Huh?
It's probably the most under wraps transfer I've seen in like recent times, definitely from Spurs anyway. And there we go, him holding up the number 28 shirt. And and there we have it. From the outset, I was hugely impressed by the stadium and the supporters. Now here I am as a Spurs player, and that is Wilson Odobert. If you want to see the full interview, go and check it out on Spurs social media. Another thing that happened on Friday was the Spurs under-21s kicked off, beating Chelsea 2-1 away from home, with Tyrese Hall getting a double from CDM. So he started the season as he means to go on.
Maybe he can take Basuma's place. We'll have to wait and see.
Whose place?
Basuma.
Oh, I hope so. Let's get into the big story of the day regarding Oliver Skipp. Mike McGrath says that Oliver Skipp has said goodbyes to his Spurs teammates ahead of a move to Leicester. Anticipation of a deal getting done for the 23-year-old. David Ornstein says that Leicester reached an agreement with Tottenham to sign Oliver Skipp. Midfielder set to undergo medical today before completion of a permanent move. Oliver Skipp's transfer fee in excess of £20 million. Alistair Gold says, as per David Ornstein, Spurs set to sell Oliver Skipp to Leicester. Understand the total fee will be more than 20 million. The 23-year-old is Spurs' only senior club-trained outfield player for the Europa League squad and needs football, and Postecoglou has approved it. Sammy Mockbell, I think he was the actual one that broke it this morning. He says, previously Tottenham were reluctant to sell Skipp as they look to comply with the squad registration rules, but the stance looks to have softened, and Leicester City are in advanced talks to sign him. And then Fabrizio Romano says that Leicester City to complete Oliver Skipp's deal on Monday after medical test booked. Tottenham will let him leave on a permanent deal after verbal agreement and formal processes to follow. So, leaves us with two club-trained players. Oliver Skipp, one of our own, once looked to have a really big future here at Tottenham, is all set to go to Leicester. And it's kind of a weird situation because what the medical tests they're saying are today, and we're playing Leicester tomorrow. So is he going to be announced in front of the Leicester fans? And it'll actually quite nice because it'll be an opportunity for us to say goodbye to him as well.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, in fact, how it all plays out. But I think also Sky Sports reporting the fee is 20 million plus 5 million in add-ons as well. So in terms of that fee, it's a pretty good fee for Spurs. I think you would have to say for an academy product who has struggled for the last 18 months or so, to be honest, to get game time and to really impact the first team. You have to say you've got to be happy with that fee. And he goes to a club where he's going to get more game time. Unfortunately for him, he could be walking into a club who could be getting, I saw a report today, on the brink of 2 points deduction. So that must be a bit of a concern for him. He doesn't want to walk into a club who's basically destined for relegation immediately, which would be a bit of a shame. But I think getting game time, going to be partnered back with Harry Winks. I don't know if they ever played together. They must have done once or twice. They never did?
I don't think so. Maybe once, but
they were in the squad together.
Yeah, they were definitely in the squad, but I think by the time Winks was out of favour, that's when Ollie Skipp was kind of emerging, wasn't he?
Yeah, I have to look back. I don't know if they were on the same pitch together, but they know each other from their time at Spurs. When Winks was in the team, though, Skipp was definitely a youngster. It wasn't really part of the first team. And then, although he must have, because when Skipp came in under Nuno, Winks was still there, I think, wasn't he? So yeah, because Winks played under Conte a bit. So I think they must have been maybe, I don't know if they're ever on the same pitch, but they definitely in the squad for a bit, but then Skipp got the injury. It is such a shame. It's a case of what could have been if he never got that injury and he continued to develop at the same rate that he looked like he was going to after coming back from that loan spell from Norwich. He looked like this guy, a lot of people like Mourinho were talking about him like a future captain. He came back under Nuno. He was one of our better players. And at the start of that Premier League season, he looked like, he was carrying on his form from the Championship and we'd got a real player there and everyone was very excited. Unfortunately, those injuries held him back a lot. And he came back and, he did come back into the team a bit under Conte late in that season, but then Spurs really struggled. Things fell apart under Conte. So that the whole team was fractured at that point. And as well, he was maybe overused at that point because I think we had some injuries in central midfield. Bentancur got injured, that was it. And so Skipp was pretty much playing every game where he probably shouldn't have played every game at that point. So he was probably overused and then the team was falling apart and that probably reflected badly on him. And then the following season, Ange came in and he was not really an Ange player, unfortunately. He's not. I mean, I think he did have some high points. We were playing left back back in last season. He did pretty well. But whenever he was, trusted to play in midfield, either mostly in the 8, he struggled. He really struggled to do the role Ange asked him to do. And then that's also a case of a player, coming back to full fitness, albeit it's been over a year now since he's come back from his injury. So I think, unfortunately, it's as much as hard to say, it's probably the right thing for everyone. He gets to go to a team where he's going to be more appreciated and he gets to play more. Tottenham get the money. But it does leave us in a bit of an awkward spot in terms of the club train. But look, if Andrew's happy to go with a bit of a smaller squad, then that's his decision.
Yeah. I'll always appreciate and, remember Ollie Skipp in a fond light. He always gave 100% when on that football pitch, true Tottenham boy, through and through. A lot of managers that came through the door really valued him highly, not even just Mourinho, but I remember that Maurizio Pochettino had very high words to say about him when he was coming through the academy, and Mourinho even went as far to say the guy was going to be a future Tottenham captain. I don't know if he truly believed that or he just was trying to big him up to build up his confidence. I'm not too sure, but a lot of managers spoke very highly of him. And you talk about the Nuno era, he was probably our best player under Nuno, literally our best player. He was brilliant at that time. I remember when we played Arsenal at the beginning of the Nuno era, Skipp was on the bench and we were all being like, why is Skipp not starting? He came on and he was absolutely brilliant that day and he was the one that came on and actually started putting in some tackles. So that's all it took for us to see him in a positive light that day. But
opening day of the season as well, we beat City and he was brilliant, I remember.
Yeah, scored the goal against Chelsea and was it Conte or Stellini? I can't remember. But yeah, look, he had some good moments in the Spurs shirt. Come through the academy. His boyhood dream was to play for Tottenham. He did that. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for him because of the system changes, I think, and the different direction the club has gone in. But I think he'll always be remembered in a positive light by Spurs fans, and he'll be welcome back at Tottenham at any time, and he'll always get a good reception, that's for sure.
Of course, and I think if there's any Leicester fans coming here watching, we'll talk about Skipp. I think you are getting a very good player. I do think he's a player who will definitely improve your team, and I think he will definitely be starting quicker than you might think. And I think 20 million, yes, it's probably a bit pricey for what he's shown in the last 18 months, but for what he was showing before that, it could be a very good price. And 20 million in this market, isn't the biggest fee. And I think he's a very good player who is definitely a Premier League player for sure. And I just think he needs to get back in his rhythm. He needs that game time to show exactly what he can do. And he was never going to get that at Spurs. But at Leicester, I think he can really improve your team and really show that what he's capable of. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do at Leicester. But I think, unfortunately for Tottenham and for everyone, it's the right thing. But it's interesting that, beginning of the window, we were adamant, or we will look like we wanted to keep him, and now we've softened our stance and we're happy to sell him. I wonder if that means, we want to make room for a midfielder, but I don't know if that really helps make room for a midfielder, to be honest. It does in terms of there's one less midfielder in the squad, but in terms of the squad numbers, doesn't change anything in terms of who we need to sell to bring in much. So I guess maybe I'm just thinking, we can sell Skipp and maybe put Gray as a backup fullback, and then that kind of makes room for a midfielder. If you put Bentancur and Basuma as the sixes, you put Bergvall and Maddison as the tens, and then you kind of have another room for one more to challenge Sarr.
Well, you got Kulusevski as well.
And you got Kulusevski as well. Yeah. Whether we see him as an 8, 10, and it's
I think the beauty about it all is that Bergvall and Kulusevski can both play 10 and 8. So both of them are very versatile. I'm not sure if we're where we see Bergvall, because in pre-season he played all 3 roles at certain points. So,
yeah, it's a good point, but we are clearly looks like we're looking for a midfielder. So, I mean, it looks like we're looking for an 8 as well at the moment. That's what the talk is. So that would tell me that, we don't believe, apart from Sarr, we have another 8. So maybe they see Bergvall and Decky as definitely 10s. I don't know.
Yeah, it's it really is a peculiar one, but I guess time will tell, because there's only just under 2 weeks to go, and we have been linked with other midfielders, which we'll get into a bit later in this update. But what that does mean, that Skipp's left now, is that the whole leadership team under Conte just under a year ago, of Kane, Dyer, Lloris, Højbjerg, and Skipp, all gone. And that shows you what kind of a rebuild, like how big this rebuild and how significant this rebuild actually is.
Change means change. That's what Ange said. And it's been a major shake-up. And it's what's needed to happen at this club for a while. So I don't mind it if that's the direction we're going. And I'm liking the look of the players that we've brought in. I'm liking the shape of the squad. So look, I think that's what had to happen. And out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Giovani Lo Celso. Fabrizio Romano says that Villa and Betis are interested, but there could be more clubs involved. It's an open situation with these 2 clubs leading the race. It really is open, and there could be a surprise. Lo Celso wants to leave Spurs, and the plan is very clear. So I assume that you will see some more developments over this in the coming week.
Yeah, I mean, he has to leave. We know that, to fit in signings. Does it mean Tottenham maybe even compromise on that fee? We'll have to wait and see if clubs are, clever about it. Maybe, but maybe it'll be like 10 million or so. But yeah, I think he will definitely be leaving. And even if it means he goes out on loan again, he'll be out the door because we need to make room.
Yeah. My prediction is that it's going to be about 10 million with maybe 5 in add-ons or something like that.
Yeah. If we can get I've got a feeling he won't be going to Villa. So I do think it'll be one of the other teams.
Yeah, I mean, Romano says there could be a few surprises along the way. He's a good player, so I have no doubt that a lot of interest will be there in the last 2 weeks of the window.
Yeah, I think so.
But this also says about the outgoings that we've done this summer. And you know what? The outgoings, we have done such a good job. Probably the best job we've ever done in terms of outgoings. When you look at it, Højbjerg, Rodon, Reguilon set to go, Sessegnon gone, Emerson gone, Ndombele finally gone, Brian Hill gone, Solomon potentially about to go as well. So, and Oliver Skipp there. So it really is a good summer of outgoings, isn't it?
Very good. And this is the thing we were talking about. I think it's evident when we're talking about who we're going to leave out the squad. Obviously, Solomon, Lo Celso, Reguilon still need to go out probably permanently, or Solomon on a loan. Forster probably has to be left out of the Europe squad, and then Phillips probably going out on a loan. But you're looking at the squad, and if we want to make signings, it's like, who do you leave out? There's not many players left who don't fit the squad, in my opinion. You could argue probably Ben Davis. He's probably the major one. He probably doesn't. But other than that, you're looking around the squad of everyone who's probably going to be in the 23-man squad. And I can't think of too many who I don't want around here. You can maybe argue Werner on the left, but we know he can do the job on the left wing. We
literally just brought him in, though.
I know, as I'm saying. So, but I know we also know he can be effective on his day. So, like, there's not too many players. When I look at the squad, which is definitely a big difference to years gone by, where you've looked at so many players. Oh, this guy shouldn't be here. This guy shouldn't be here. Where now I'm looking at the squad, like everyone I'm very excited about, and everyone I think could have a big future here and could be here for many, many years. So that's a really positive thing. I think the squad building has been really, really effective. And I think we've done some really good business, both ins and outs. But we'll talk about Werner. I was actually thinking about this the other day because when we signed Werner, we both said we're going to reserve judgment, on that Werner signing to see who we're, considering who else we get in the forward line. And now the fact is we've done our forward business, I think, with Solanke and Odobert. And I have to say, I'm pretty disappointed now that we re-signed Werner. I can confirm that, because I think if we were to, we pretty much signed
your
Werner.
Disappointment has been evident all the way through, Sim.
I know, but I was willing to, if we were to sign Neto or someone a high class with him, I could have, Werner's not the, I could have been okay with Werner. And I think people who are being a bit disappointed in the Odobert signing are maybe directing their anger at the wrong signings. I think people who are disappointed with signing Odobert should be more disappointed that now in hindsight, that Werner was re-signed, because Werner was pretty much re-signed on the basis that he's going to be a squad player, he's going to be back up to Son, and that we're going to get a much better winger, in addition to him. Essentially, that was the thought process I was thinking anyway. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Odobert is bad or anything, but Odobert should be playing that role that Werner's playing right now. That's what we should be bringing Odobert for, and then we sign a more marquee winger, as you say, or whatever, high-class winger.
Odobert and Bakayoko would have been great.
That was it. And so I'm sitting here thinking, why the hell did we re-sign Werner now? Because like Odobert plays on the left anyway, predominantly. He's more natural on the left, it seems. He's 19, so he's like absolutely also he can, we have to manage Son a bit as well. So that is like the perfect kind of guy to bring on when Son's getting tired or whatever, or even to, battle out on the left-hand side. And then you have Brennan on the right, and then you just sign, if you sign a Bakayoko for, 60 million, then you're looking at that winger option thing. That's absolutely perfect. Now I'm looking at it. I still like it, but it could have been much better if we didn't kind of skimp out and re-sign Werner, essentially. And I did say I'll reserve judgment till after we've done our forward business. And I think I can definitely say it's disappointing that we re-signed Werner for sure.
I agree with you 100%. And that's what I was kind of alluding to when we were having that debate on after we did sign Odobert. Because we signed Werner, I really expected someone really established to come in because we were linked with Neto. And, I made it clear that I didn't want Neto, but I did want someone very much established that can come in, hit the ground running, no questions asked, much less of a risk. Albeit I do like the Odobert signing. So I am a bit frustrated that we've brought in Werner. But having said that, it is only a loan. We are in the middle of a rebuild. And I feel like one more summer and the rebuild could be close to completion. Werner won't be here next summer, so you're going to bring in another attacking option, or you've got the emergence of Mikey Moore next season. It's one or the two. And we'll probably need a few more reinforcements in the defence, whether it be centre back, left centre back. Ben Davis won't be here past next season. So when you're looking at Werner going, when you're looking at Forster going, when you're looking at Ben Davis going, the average age will drop dramatically, and you're going to have a few players to come in and replace them. So I feel like by next summer, the rebuild should really be there and done and dusted.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And maybe that's the thought process. We take Werner on a loan, and then we can spend big the following summer on a winger. But it's not what fans want to hear, is it? We want it all
It's
done
not,
now.
but look, you can't get away from the fact that we spent money. We've been spending money since Ange Postecoglou's come in. Look at the amount of money we've spent, over 400 million or something since Ange has come in.
Yeah, probably sounds about right. I think last season was, in terms of euros, probably 200 odd. This summer, probably 150 odd, is it? So I'm not saying we haven't spent, but I don't know. I'm just disappointed that we signed Werner on the pretense he's going to be a squad player, and then we signed Odobert as our main winger when in reality we should have signed Odobert as a squad player and then a main winger on top of that. That would have been better. But you can't have it all, can you?
100%. But anyway, let's move on to, sorry, the door's going. Let's move on to potential incomings, and let's talk about Vanderson once again. This Bruno Andrade does not want to let this one drop, and he says Tottenham are drawing up a following offer for Vanderson, 32 million euros fixed and extra for objectives. Talks with Monaco ongoing. And I mean, when Bruno Andrade last spoke about it, Ali Gold and Paul O'Keefe both came out and said, "No, this is absolutely not true. It's just agent talk." And I just feel it's more of the same. Surely we're not going for Vanderson.
He's doubling down, isn't it? But it doesn't really make sense. Again, as I've said, unless Spence is leaving, I just can't see Vanderson coming in, especially as well if we want to bring in midfielder. Let's say we do leave out Davis. Who else are we going to leave out? There's no one else to leave out. So at the moment, we have 27 players for a squad of 23. So 5 players are going to have to leave before we can even bring one in. And then on top of that, 5 players are going to have to leave before you can bring one in. And on top of that, if we want to bring a right back in, then, that means one on top of Davis is going to leave. And I just can't see that happening. It doesn't seem that necessary for me to spend big money on him. Doesn't make sense.
And even regardless of that, Ange has clearly stated that Jed Spence is here for the season, at the very minimum. He believes in Jed Spence. He has no problems with Jed Spence. Jed has done really well in the pre-season so far. And we've also got Archie Gray there. So it just makes no sense to bring in a right back, even regardless of the squad situation.
Yeah. Well, I would say, Vanderson is definitely better than Spence and Gray.
But if Spence is going to stay, then there's no need for one.
Yeah, unless he's thinking Spence is going to be predominantly on the left. But he did definitely say in this presser that he sees Spence's more natural position definitely on the right rather than the left. So I agree. I wouldn't do that right now. I would focus on other key issues. If you're going to sign a fullback, then sign a left back, not a right back. That doesn't make sense for me, especially if Spence is definitely saying so. I don't believe this report. It just doesn't make sense to me.
And last but not least, we're going to talk about Joao Gomes. A lot of these supposed ITKs on Twitter sent Twitter into overdrive yesterday, and everyone started talking about it, claiming that Spurs have a heavy interest in Wolves' midfielder Joao Gomes. He's a player that I absolutely adore. I think he has attributes in the midfield that we're severely lacking, and I would love nothing more than to bring in Joao Gomes from now until the end of the window. I think he's a top player. I really do. 23 years of age, Brazil international, Premier League proven. If we can get something like that over the line, I think it will be a hefty fee and quite expensive to do. But if the ITK has any slither of truth in it, I would just absolutely love it to happen.
Yeah, and if we can have a midfield of Bentancur Basuma for the 6s, Sarr and Gomez for the 8s, Bergvall, Kulusevski and Maddison for the 10s. That's a really, really solid midfield. And he adds much needed energy, I think. I think he makes, in terms of tackles per 90, one of the highest in the Premier League. So really combative. And as well, while I was looking into his stats last night, he's top of the Premier League for tackles in the midfield third and final third as well. So he presses really high, presses really aggressively with a purpose. Very good with his ball carrying. I was watching him against Arsenal yesterday, and I know Wolves struggled a bit, but I actually thought he did quite well. There was a number of occasions where he was put under pressure. He was able to wriggle out of a couple of situations and put Wolves on the front foot really impressively. And I thought there were a couple of occasions Wolves caught Arsenal out with their high press, and he was quite a big part of that as well. So I think, doing that out for a Wolves team, lost their best player, going away to one of the better teams in the Premier League. Clearly, I thought he did quite well. And I think he can add a new dimension to our backline. Obviously, if we're looking for a goal scorer, I know he did score 2 against Spurs last season at the Tottenham Stadium when they beat us 2-1. I don't see him as a massive goal scorer, but that is something that he could definitely improve on. He's clearly got technique, and I've seen him score some good goals for Wolves, but he's obviously not a big goal scorer. Also does play quite regularly for Brazil, and in Brazil in midfield do have a lot of talent, and I saw in the Copa he was playing quite a bit for them. So clearly he's a player highly rated there as well, even though they've got players like Paquetá, Guimaraes. He plays with them as well. So I don't think he's a monster 6, but when it comes to having that 8 with high energy, adds legs to the midfield, can definitely compete with Sarr, good age as well, and is Premier League proven. I mean, really good deal potentially.
Yeah, I would absolutely love it to happen, but there's still nothing really of substance to go on with Joao Gomes. It is just social media talk as it stands, but hopefully something can progress on that in the coming days. And I was also looking into his stats. I think since the start of last season, nobody's made more tackles in the Premier League than Joao Gomes, even more than Joao Palhinha. I thought it was mad.
Since the start, yeah, I think he literally gets himself about a lot, and I think when it comes to his ball carrying ability, he's also really great. But I think his passing definitely needs a bit of work, statistically anyway. But again, he plays for a Wolves side who aren't exactly great at keeping possession. When they do attack, they attack very directly. They don't pass much. They like to attack with a purpose rather than keeping possession. So it does make sense. Those passing stats maybe aren't the best, but I do think, having watched him play, I think sometimes his passing can be a bit loose. It's something can improve, but definitely he's a midfielder who could add a lot to this squad and a lot to our midfield.
Yeah, I think he complements the players that we have here really well with the attributes that he does have. But look, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. That is the Tottenham update for today. Send your good wishes to Oliver Skipp. And if you are going on Monday night, I think it's only right to have a nice little sing-song for Ollie Skipp. But we'll see you all there Monday, or I'll see you there Monday night. Sim and Barnaby in the studio with you for the watch-along. Yeah, tune in, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.